Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is the Bodega Cat Book Club Health Edition, and today we're continuing our reading of Your Body's Many Cries for Water by Dr. B. I call him Dr. B because I don't know how to pronounce his name. Maybe I'll call him Dr. Batman because he's got the name Batman in there. Anyways, subtitle is You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty. Don't treat thirst with medication. It's a very interesting book. This book was inspired by fundamentals, really. Um, we have the building blocks of life, known as the four elements or five elements, depending on who you talk to. So there's fire, water, earth, wood, I think. Fire, water, earth, wood, ether. And these are the building blocks of the life that we know in this dimension. Now, I'm sure in higher dimensions, they have a whole set of different physics and different, you know, chemistry and different, all kinds of stuff. But in this earth that we live in, those are the building blocks. And water is one of them. Water, we need water to survive. There's just no two ways about it. And so I think it's important to at least learn about it, understand, try and understand it, know the importance of it. So here we are. And this will be chapter 6 that we'll be reading. And in the meantime, check out our other book clubs. We have the spiritual book clubs on Mondays and financial book clubs on Thursdays. We have a monthly newsletter that we put out, so sign up for that to follow us see what we're doing. And then we have regular podcasts that we put out as well, where I interview interesting people, interesting to me at least, talk about their journey and what they do and some of their philosophies of life, liberty, and happiness, I guess, you want to call it that. But anyways, check that out. They're all on our website. You could check them out there. And I post all my podcasts and past books that we've read on YouTube, so you could check out our YouTube channel. If you have a book that you want to recommend, whether it's financial or spiritual or uh, health related, let us know. I'll leave a link in the description box below, and we'd love to read it at our discretion, of course. We gotta, make sure we're not stepping on people's toes, if you know what I mean. Okay. And then if you want to support us, if you like our format, if you like what we're doing, um, but you can buy me a coffee and support us that way, or get one of our merch as well. So we're working on different designs and we're kind of in a transition period, but we're kind of getting there. So come back and um, check it out once in a while. And then if you're local, come visit us in person at our healing center. We use technologies based on Nikola Tesla's scalar wave research um, for holistic healing for both animals and humans. So you could check that out on our website as well. Okay. All right. That's a lot of information there. All right. Let's do this. This is a very interesting book. I think it's interesting. Yeah. Anyways. Okay. Chapter 6. I'm going to move the camera in. If you have a book, you could follow with us there. For those of you who are visual people like me, if not, you could follow with us here on the camera, whichever is convenient for you. Okay, chapter 6, high blood pressure. Physicians think they're doing something for you by labeling what you have as a disease. Immanuel Kant. High blood pressure, also known as essential hypertension, is an adaptive process to a gross body water deficiency. The vessels of the body have been designed to cope with the fluctuation of their blood volume and the tissue requirements by opening and closing the different vessels. When the total fluid volume in the body is decreased, the main vessels also have to decrease their aperture or close their lumen. Otherwise, there would not be enough fluid to fill all the space allocated to blood volume in the design of that particular body. Failing a capacity adjustment to water volume by the blood vessels, gases would separate from the blood and fill the space, causing gas locks. This property of lumen regulation for fluid circulation is a most advanced design within the principle of hydraulics and after which the blood circulation of the body is modeled. Shunting of blood circulation is a normal routine. When we eat, most of the circulation is directed into the intestinal tract. This is done by closing capillary circulation elsewhere. When we eat, more capillaries are opened in the gastrointestinal tract and fewer are opened in the major muscle systems. Only areas where activity places a more urgent demand on the circulatory systems to be kept fully open for the passage of blood. In other words, it is the blood holding capacity of the capillary bed that determines the direction and rate of flow to any site at a given time. This process is naturally designed to cope with any priority work without the burden of maintaining excess fluid volume in the body. When the act of digestion has taken place and less blood is needed in the gastrointestinal region, circulation to the other areas will open more easily. In an indirect way, this is why we feel less active immediately after a meal and ready for action after some time has passed. In short, there is a mechanism for establishing a priority for circulating blood to any given area. Some capillaries open and some others close. The order is predetermined according to a scale of importance of function. The brain, lungs, liver, kidneys, and glands take priority over muscles, bones, and skin in blood distribution unless a different priority is programmed into the system. This will happen if a continued demand on any part of the body influences the extent of blood circulation to the area, such as muscle development through regular exercise. Water shortage, potentials for hypertension. When we do not drink enough water to serve all the needs of the body, some cells become dehydrated and lose some of their water to the circulation. Capillary beds in some areas will have to close so that some of the slack in capacity is adjusted for. In water shortage and body drought, 66% is taken from the water volume normally held inside the cells. 26% is taken from the volume held outside the cells, and 8% is taken from the blood volume. See figure 13. There is no alternative for the blood vessels other than closing their lumens to cope with the loss in blood volume. The process begins by closing some capillaries in less active areas. Otherwise, where will the balance come from to keep these capillaries open? The deficient quantity must either come from outside or be taken from another part of the body. And here is the figure that he talked about, figure 13, the role of capillary bed in hypertension. So here's the capillary bed here, just a little section of it in the arm. So water loss in chronic dehydration, and he says that 66% is lost from water held in some cells, 26% is taken from water volume held outside the cells, and then 8% is taken from water held in the vascular bed. Blood vessels close lumen to compensate for the water loss, and lumen closing causes the rise in tension we recognize as hypertension. So this figure, figure 13, the vascular system all over the body adapts to blood volume loss by selective closing of the lumen. One major cause for blood volume loss is the loss of body water or its undersupply through the loss of thirst sensations. So I guess essentially they're saying water is taken from somewhere, right? Whether it's outside the cell, whether it's inside the cell, whether it's in the vascular bed, in the blood volume, it's got to come from somewhere, right? And the body has a really good way of regulating itself in terms of triaging, right? What comes first, what comes second, prioritizing. Hmm. This is the great creator at work. That's my opinion. It is the extent of capillary bed activity throughout the body that ultimately determines the volume of circulating blood. The more the muscles are exercised, the more their capillaries open and hold a greater volume of blood within the circulation reserves. This is why exercise is a most important component for physiological adjustments in those suffering from hypertension. This is one aspect to the physiology of hypertension. The capillary bed must remain open and full and offer no resistance to blood circulation. When the capillary bed is closed and offers resistance, only an increased force behind the circulating blood will ensure the passage of some fluids through the system. Another reason why the capillary bed may become selectively closed is shortage of water in the body. Basically, water we drink ultimately has to get into the cells. Water regulates the volume of a cell from inside. Salt regulates the amount of water held outside the cells, the ocean around the cells. There is a very delicate balancing process in the design of the body in the way it maintains its composition of blood at the expense of fluctuating the water content in some cells. When there is a shortage of water, some cells will go without a portion of their normal needs, while others will get a predetermined rationed amount to maintain function. As explained, the mechanism involves water filtration through the cell membrane. However, the blood will normally retain the consistency of its composition. It must do so to keep the normal composition of elements reaching the vital centers. This is where the solutes paradigm is inadequate and goes wrong. It bases all assessments and evaluations of body functions on the solids content of blood. It does not recognize the comparative dehydration of some other parts of the body. All blood tests can appear normal, and yet the small capillaries of the heart and the brain may be closed, causing some of the cells of these organs gradual damage from increasing dehydration over a period of time. When you read the section on cholesterol formation, this statement will become clearer. When we lose thirst sensation or do not recognize the other signals of dehydration and drink less water than the daily requirement, the shutting down of some vascular beds is the only natural alternative to keeping the rest of the blood vessels full. The question is, how long can we go on like this? The answer is long enough to ultimately become very ill and die. Unless we get wise to the paradigm shift and professionally and generally begin to recognize the problems associated with water metabolism disturbance in the human body and its variety of thirst signals, chronic dehydration will continue to take its toll on both our bodies and society. Essential hypertension should primarily be treated with an increase in daily water intake. The present way of treating hypertension is wrong to the point of scientific absurdity. The body is trying to retain its water volume, yet we say to the design of nature in us, no, you do not understand. You must take diuretics and get rid of the water. If we do not drink sufficient water, the only other way the body has to secure water is through the mechanism of keeping sodium in the body. The RA system is directly involved. Only when sodium is retained will water remain in this extracellular fluid compartment. From this compartment, through the mechanism of shower head production, water is forced into some of the cells that have priority status. Thus, keeping sodium in the body is a last resort way of retaining some water for its shower head filtered use. There is a sensitivity of design attached to sodium retention in the body. To assume this to be the cause of hypertension is inadequate and stems from insufficient knowledge of the water regulatory mechanisms in the human body. When diuretics are given to get rid of sodium, the body becomes more dehydrated. The dry mouth level of dehydration is reached, and some water is taken to compensate. The use of diuretics maintains the body at an expanding level of deficit water management. Diuretics do not cure hypertension. They make the body more determined for salt and water absorption. However, never enough to correct the problem. That is why, after a while, diuretics are not enough, and supplemental medications will be forced on the patient. And so the hamster wheel begins, right? It goes round and round and round. It gets worse and worse and worse and worse. That's how Western medicine works. Don't get me wrong, it has its place. It's just we're overusing it. All right, another problem in the assessment of hypertension is its means of measurement. The anxiety associated with having hypertension automatically affects the person at extermination time. Instrument readings may not reflect the true natural and normal blood pressure. An inexperienced or hasty medical practitioner, more in fear of litigation than mindful of accuracy or judgment, may assume the patient to have hypertension, yet the patient may only have an instant of clinic anxiety, causing a high reading of the instrument. One other important but less known problem with the mechanism of reading blood pressure is the process of inflating the cuff well above the systolic reading, and then letting the air out until the pulse is heard. Every large and possibly small artery has a companion nerve that monitors the flow of blood through the vessel. With the loss of pressure beyond a cuff that is inflated to very high levels, the process of pressure opening of the obstructions in the arteries will be triggered. By the time the pressure in the cuff is lowered to read the pulsation level, the recording of an artificially induced higher blood pressure will become unavoidable. Unfortunately, the measurement of hypertension is so arbitrary and based on the diastolic level that in this litigious society, a minor error in assessment may label a person hypertensive. Water by itself is the best natural diuretic. If people who have hypertension and produce adequate urine increase their daily water intake, they will not need to take diuretics. If prolonged hypertension reducing if prolonged hypertension producing dehydration has also caused heart failure complications, the water intake should be increased gradually so that fluid collection in the body is not excessive and unmanageable. The mechanism of sodium retention in these people is in overdrive mode. When water intake is increased gradually and more urine is produced, the edema fluid or the swelling that is full of toxic substances will be flushed out and the heart will regain its strength. The following letters are presented here with the kind permission of their authors who wish to share their experiences with the readers of this book. November 22nd, 1993. Dear Dr. B, I have just ordered another copy of your book on water, having given a son my first copy. I tell everybody about it and about my experiences. Perhaps you would be interested. My first son, Charles, 58, who lives with me, is deaf and autistic. I take him 3 to 4 days a week to a facility for the handicapped. They have been taking his blood pressure there and notified me that the doctor said he should go on medication. His blood pressure was 140 to 160 over 100 to 104. I had just received your book and asked the MD to let me experiment for 2 weeks. Reluctantly, he agreed, but warned me it was very dangerous. Of course, they all say that. That's what they're trained to do. I kept Charles home and used the water routine, also adding a little magnesium and potassium. 2 weeks later, the nurse took his BP and it was 106 over 80. She said, the doctor will be in shortly. Evidently, the MD didn't believe her and he checked it himself and had to admit it was so. He didn't ask me what I did, so I did not tell him about water, but if the BP continues as it is, I will tell him. I went on the water routine too without any particular problem in mind, but noticed that in about 10 days, my tendency to get dizzy if I moved my head quickly had disappeared. I also had been unable to lower my head to lie flat at nights and had to have several pillows. Now I am much better and have had only one spell in over a month. I am 82 years old. Thank you for the work you are doing. It is much needed. More power to you. Majori Ramsey. If you can find out why this doctor was not interested in finding out how Charles' mother brought his blood pressure back to normal, you will then realize why we have a healthcare crisis on our hands. Ain't that the truth? In Michael Peck's letter, he explains his medical problems since childhood. Who would have thought so many disparate medical conditions could be related, and that after so many years, these conditions would disappear as a result of a simple adjustment to daily water intake? The solution to Mr. Peck's medical problems was so unique that his wife also began to adopt the treatment ritual. Micro Investments, Inc. So this letter was addressed to Dr. B at the Foundation for Simple in Medicine in Virginia, and it's dated March 25th March 1992. And the letter says, Dear Faradun, sorry, Dr. B, I butchered your name. Uh, this letter is a testimony to the merits of water as an essential part of the daily dietary requirements for good health. I have been following your recommendations for nearly 5 years and have found myself taking for granted the positive effects of water intake. When I first started on the program, I was overweight, with high blood pressure, and suffering from asthma and allergies, which I have had since a small child. I have been receiving treatment for these conditions. Today, I have my weight and blood pressure under control, weight loss of approximately 30 pounds, and a 10-point drop in blood pressure. The program reduced the frequency of asthma and allergy related problems to the point of practical non existence. Additionally, there are other benefits. I experience fewer colds and flus, and generally with less severity. I introduced this program to my wife, who had been on blood pressure medication for the past 4 years, and through increased water intake, has recently been able to eliminate her medication. Thanks again for your program, Michael Beck. That's incredible. Wouldn't it be kind of, mm, I don't want to say funny, but I guess it would be weird to have a physician whip out his prescription pad and write a prescription that says drink 8 ounces of water per day and hand it to the patient. That would be kind of funny, isn't it? And it's free. Free. Don't you love that word? Free. Nature's free. Mother Nature's free. Your health should be free. All right. Mother Nature is very abundant. She gives us what we need. She gives us everything we need. Oh, sorry about that. A little tangent there. Okay, Michael Paturis is a fellow Rotarian. He first became aware of my work when I was asked to speak at his club a few years ago. One day, we had lunch together, and I explained in detail why hypertension and fat accumulation in the body are generally the consequences of chronically establishing dehydration. He accepted my advice of increasing his daily water intake. He also convinced his wife to adopt the measure. Note, two, the impact of increased water intake on allergies and asthma that have been stated, in the letters from Mr. Peck and Mr. Paturis. As Lieutenant Colonel Burmeister's letter attests, he also experienced a drug-free and nature-designed adjustment to his blood pressure. If water is a natural diuretic, why do intelligent and supposedly learned people still insist on using chemicals to get rid of water from the kidneys? As far as I am concerned, this action constitutes negligence. Since this action will eventually damage the kidneys and ultimately the heart, its practice should stop. My colleagues who still insist on blindly using diuretics to treat hypertension are walking into foreseeable litigation for negligent treatment of their patients. This new information will provide their patients with sufficient insight to understand what damages have been caused in them by asserting the treatment of hypertension with diuretics. Let the February 1995 class action suit of smokers against the tobacco industry be a lesson for the healthcare industry. Okay, so this is another letter by Michael Paturas, Law Offices of E. Michael Paturas. So he was an attorney, or is, I don't know. Um, and this letter was dated February 20th, 1992. And it's addressed again to Dr. B, Foundation for the Simple in Medicine in Virginia. So this letter reads, Dear Dr. B, I again wish to thank you for your kindness in helping my wife and me to better appreciate the importance of water to our health. We feel the conscious increase in our water consumption contributed greatly to our weight loss, a weight loss which had been urged upon both of us by our respective physicians for years. My loss of approximately 45 pounds, 45 pounds, has resulted in such a lowering of my blood pressure that I am no longer taking medicine for my blood pressure. My wife's weight loss has alleviated the discomfort she has experienced for years with her back. In addition, and believes the weight loss has reduced her discomfort and problems with her allergies. With best wishes, I remain sincerely, E. Michael Paturis. And here's one more letter dated 3rd of August, 1994. Again, um, um, sorry, having a senior moment here. The letter is written to Dr. B in Virginia, and it says here, Dr. B, dear Dr. B, since my 24 May 1994 letter, your consequent telephone call, excuse me, a physical change of address has absorbed my time. The new address is blah, blah, blah in Texas. Albeit, much more important than these facts, I am in a position to verify how tap water effectively lowers hypertension. Starting in early April 1994, leaving years of diuretics and calcium blockers behind, in accordance with your recommendation, for approximately 3 months, I drank a minimum of 8-ounce glasses of tap water, occasionally more. The blood pressure heretofore contained by drugs gradually dropped from an average around 150 to 160 systolic over 95 to 98 diastolic to an amazing drug-free 130 to 135 systolic over 75 to 80 diastolic fluctuating average. My wife makes these measurements at home, each time taking 2 or 3 readings. The record shows several lows of 120s over 75s, and a rare high of 140s over 90s diastolic. Oh, 140 systolic over 90 diastolic. However, the average range, as stated above, uniformly dominates. In addition to vitamins and minerals, this drug-free approach, based essentially on tap water and a pinch of salt, has relaxed my system and justifies the confidence that you hold the handles of a truly revolutionary and marvelous medical concept. Since you are about to publish a book with applicable testimonies of the hydration system, my personal experience is greatly offered as a way of saying thank you. Respectfully yours, Walter F. Burmeister. Oh, Lieutenant Colonel. Okay, this is the Army. What's AUS? Retired, something retired. Lieutenant Colonel, was it Australia? I don't know. If anybody knows in our audience, put it in the comment box below. I'm kind of interested. All right, so that's the end of chapter 6. That's a good benchmark. What he talked about here. You know, there's always a controversy about how many glasses of water to drink, but that's a good benchmark. 8 ounces, 8 ounces. So I have a 16-ounce mug. Uh, I've been using that as a benchmark. So I'll drink 4 of those, right? So 16 ounces, about 2 cups. 2, 4, 6, 8. So I'll drink 4 16-ounce mugs throughout the day. And I'll take it along with my supplements and stuff like that. And sometimes I fall short, you know, it's okay to fall off the wagon. Sometimes I'll drink more. Um, but that's a good benchmark. But always listen to your body. Like I said, your body is your expert physician. All right. That's the end of chapter 6. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. And if you've taken up drinking water or any kind of habits that you're changing for the better, for the good, uh, leave a comment in the comment box below and tell us how you're doing, what you're doing. Um, if it's working, if it's not working, how your body feels, and all that good stuff. It's good to share experiences um, and help each other grow and improve every day, a little bit at a time. So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed that, and we will continue our reading next week. In the meantime, I hope you guys all have a great day and check out our website and all the good stuff that I talked about in the beginning. Okay, bye-bye now.